I want to start this video off by saying that these Republicans that voted to take away people's health care in America, the disabled, the elderly, and people that really need SNAP benefits and things like that for the children, and you sold the American people out for a fucking signed hat and t-shirt from Trump, you really are a whore for him. I have to just put it out there. You are a t-shirt whore and a hat whore. Point blank period. You sold the American people out for fucking t-shirts and hats. You should fucking be ashamed of yourself. But let me continue.
In 1940, Hitler's armies drove through Europe. Only Britain held out against their assault. But the Nazis had a covert plan to undermine the British defenses. In a concentration camp north of Berlin, a secret weapon was rolling off the production lines. Its purpose? To strike silently and stealthily at the heart of the British Empire and invade every aspect of daily life. It was a weapon made of paper. At the height of World War II, the Nazis pulled off the greatest currency forgery in history, producing the equivalent today of over £3 billion.
The original plan was to produce very large amounts of British paper currency and drop it over Britain. Some of the more honest members of the public would maybe have handed them into banks or police stations, but generally the Germans were banking on the idea that they wouldn't, and it would cause huge inflation and totally destabilize the currency and the British government.
Hitler personally.
So this is a very paralleled observation concerning Trump and Hitler, because what Trump is doing right now is he's very much destroying the industries in America. He is destroying travel industries. He is destroying, I mean, you name it, he's destroying it right now. And that is exactly what a Hitler regime would do. They would start to destroy the bottom line of commerce to destabilize the country. And that's what Trump is doing. So if you think that Trump is America first, Trump is absolutely not America first. Let's get this straight. He has... let me just say this. These Nazis, neo-Nazis, put him in power because he bankrupted his own businesses 6 and 7 times and never really paid the price for doing so. However, he's bankrupting America right now. He personally, with these MAGA Republicans. And I'm not going to say all Republicans are on page with this shit. They're not on page with destroying the Constitution. They're not. But this is what Trump is doing, and this is very parallel to this.
Authorized the plan to flood Britain with fake currency, cause massive inflation, and wreck the British war effort. To produce these forgeries, the Germans relied on a unique national resource. The Nazis had interred millions of Jews in concentration camps across Middle Europe. They gave the Third Reich a vast source of slave labor. And for a secret operation, they had one great advantage. When it was over, they could be killed.
The head of the camp said to us, you should know, here you're in Germany, that's not in France, here you work hard, and if you don't work, we send you to a place, you go into the gate and come out of the chimney.
The SS systematically trawled the camps for men with skills that could be used for counterfeiting. These men were living in terror, their lives forfeit to Hitler's final solution, witness to the daily violence and degradation of the camps.
And then I said, what's going on? Everyone stood and just stared.
Mein Vater lag auf der
I saw my father lying on the ground, drenched in blood. He had been in the next row and everyone was pushing from behind, and in the front they were beating. And one SS man had hit him in such a way on the head so that the head cracked open and he was lying, streaming with blood. In any event, he was dead. And I was really shaken by it. I just wanted to run into the wires, the electric wires. I blamed myself because I should have looked after my father better.
But
Could you imagine the guilt as a small child who couldn't even defend themselves, watching their father die and feel somehow, some way that they themselves could have stopped or should have stopped their father from being beaten to death? When you have people in his party saying stuff like alligator lives matter, and that there's over 60,000 meals for an alligator, you don't think that these people are very disconnected to life? As much as they preach this this pro-life stuff, but you're talking about making immigrants meals for alligators. It has happened before. Let me just say this. One of the reasons why Trump wants to destroy the education system is because then you won't be able to be taught what has historically happened in America. So historically happened in America, especially in Florida where he's at right now, is that these white racists would take the babies of black slaves for shits and giggles and throw them as alligator bait to alligators. Now just imagine this. You're a mother, and they take your child and they throw your child to an alligator, right? Do you know what that would do to your psyche? It would make you be in fear that if you had another baby next time, right, to keep you in line and keep you in control. Could you imagine the tactics to control the mind of somebody? Because you can't break a person just by putting them in bars, right? In bars, you can't break their will. But what things that you can do to break their will is their families, right? So this is the tactics of a white racist nationalist, right? That we've already experienced in America. And Hitler himself said that a lot of things they used on the Jews and anybody that opposed him in Europe was some of the tactics that our own government in history used against the indigenous people. There's over 150 million indigenous people from South America all the way into what we call America now and into Canada, where these people that are sitting in power now, that are doing the same tactics as their forefathers did back then, they killed 150 million different tribal people. And the ones they didn't kill, they actually put them in concentration camps called reservations. Let's continue.
Jack Plappler was to be rescued by an unlikely savior, an SS major or Sturmbannführer called Bernhard Kruger. A specialist in forging passports and other documents, this was the man who would give his name to the secret operation to wreck the British economy. He would recruit the workers and direct every aspect of their labor. He would be their keeper and, if necessary, their executioner.
Kruger.
Where did we hear keeper just recently? Let's think on it. Where did we hear the words keeper on national TV? Trump said, and I made a video this morning, he said that these farmers would be the keepers of these immigrants. Parallel.
Was as far removed from the Nazi ideal as you could possibly get. He was about 5'8", receding hairline, a little pudgy, certainly nothing like the idealized blonde, blue-eyed, 6-foot Nazi hero.
Führer Kruger was a double-faced man. His appearance was distinguished, civil, well-mannered. However, his other side was a very devoted SS, a high-ranking SS, I would even say a murderer with a smile.
Ruthless and energetic, Kruger set out to make Operation Bernhard.
That's what Trump wanted to see on his birthday. Trump wanted to see that. If you don't think he's the reincarnated Hitler, you are mistaken. He wanted to see that. He wanted to see that march like that from American soldiers. So when I keep saying that he is the harlot of Revelation, go read the chapter in Revelation about the harlot. And the MAGA supporters are these people that he has, or this harlot in Revelation, wrapped himself in red. He is that harlot. The one that has been here before was gone and is back again. Go read the scripture.
Deadliest weapon in the Nazi armory. But there was a more personal motive for his labors.
Let's face it, he was very practical. This is one way of not being sent to the Russian front, which is murderous. So as long as he had this, he was safe.
Kruger's main source of recruits was Auschwitz, the most notorious death camp in the Third Reich.
Does that look familiar? Does that look familiar? Oh yeah, we just got videotape of this alligator concentration camp in Florida. It looks very similar, aside from its tents and it's not permanent, which they're thinking and wanting to make things permanent. Let's continue.
Over the course of the war, 2 million prisoners would die here. Paul Londo was one of those paraded before the Nazi physician who made the selection for the gas chambers.
It was very cold. We were told to undress entirely from a striped clothes. And as we passed in front of that physician, from time to time, picked up the arm and he asked you to show the number. And when the number was taken, you knew it means you were going to be gassed. That day, I wasn't picked. And 2,000 Jews were chosen to be gassed.
Incinerated.
Just 2 days later, Kruger arrived at Auschwitz and recruited Paul Londo with 54 other Jewish prisoners for a secret mission.
We were assembled and took the train destination we didn't know. They didn't advise us in advance where we were going to. We were taken to a concentration camp called Sachsenhausen, some 6 kilometers outside of Berlin.
Sachsenhausen was to be the production center of Operation Bernhard. Among the 140 prisoners who eventually worked here were 4 men who survived to tell a story never meant to be told. Hans Walter, professional cyclist and engineer, chosen for his metalworking skills and excellent eyesight. Abraham Krakowski, clerk, arrested with his fiancée and chosen by Kruger for his accountancy skills. Paul Londo, a furrier before the war, he led the Germans to believe he was a carpenter. And Jack Blappler, painter and decorator, chosen for his practical abilities.
Auf einmal kam ein SS-Offizier,
Suddenly, an SS officer approached.
Sturmbannführer.
A major with 4 stars.
War einer mit 4.
He shouted, "So, where have my Jews been?"
Schrie rein,
His
"Wo sind
Jews.
denn meine Juden?
His Jews.
Seine Juden.
That was us.
Das waren
The ones he had
die
chosen.
dort ausgesucht waren, ja.
Sachsenhausen was a labor camp for political prisoners, homosexuals, gypsies, and Jews. Here, some 30,000 prisoners were forced to work for the Reich on the premise that work makes you free. But very few would leave Sachsenhausen alive.
Sachsenhausen
was planned by an SS architect who tried to incorporate the ideology of concentration camps into the design. One modern feature was the system of total control. From one point, a single machine gun was supposed to be able to control the entire 68 barracks of the camp. This was, as we say, the geometry of terror.
The Operation Bernhard recruits were isolated from the other prisoners in 2 separate blocks, a prison within a prison.
Barbed wire was extended around.
I just want to say something. Again, let me break in. So, Trump and his administration showed these cots with pillows and blankets and mattresses, and they look all nice and neat. Ask them to show what's happening to all of these immigrants that they've snatched off the streets in these ICE containment facilities. Let's hear about that. Let's see if they've got these nice beds and cots and pillows, because I'm going to tell you they don't. And they won't have. Because what they plan on doing is taking all those nice cots and pillows and blankets away and then caging people thickly in those little rooms that they've created with chain link fences. Let's continue.
Our block and not in communication with anybody else in the camp. We knew from the beginning something suspicious there, but we coming from Auschwitz had nothing to lose.
You could not see inside the barracks because the windows were whitened. So you could look out of the windows, but from outside you couldn't see what was happening within. None of the 140 prisoners were recorded at the camp's registry office. It was as if they had disappeared inside the camp.
Die Blocks sahen aus wie andere, bloß mit dem
The
Unterschied.
barracks looked just like the others.
Do we know how many people were snatched up by ICE agents and what is actually happening to them? We don't.
Only with the slight difference that there were printing machines inside.
Und Postenkette.
And there was a guarded cordon to make sure that we did not get out or approach the fence where we could have spoken to the other prisoners.
Hätten dort rausgerufen mit den
Because they were certainly curious to know what was going on inside here.
was dort los war in den Baracken, ja.
Before revealing their new role in the Nazi war effort, Kruger made the alternative perfectly clear.
If you don't do the job, he told us it was a secret job, you had to be eliminated, shut outside, and he don't do the job, but he got people to do it for him. So nobody of us 60 people that came from Auschwitz put his hand up and said he wouldn't do the job, but he had signed us to. So we took the job.
Bernhard Kruger
spoke to us. Well, comrades.
Kameraden.
Suddenly we were comrades.
Waren wir Kameraden, ja.
You have been chosen. We have something in mind for you.
Wir haben etwas vor mit euch.
You are all specialists, good printers, good engravers.
Ihr sollt hier an diesen
You are to work on these printing machines.
Und dann bekamen wir
And then we were given these printing plates from Berlin. And we printed British pound notes.
We printed forged money for Britain.
Kruger had set these men a challenge. Make forgeries that will fool the Bank of England, or die. Like it or not, the Jewish prisoners were now helping Kruger to produce the secret weapon that the SS believed would wreck the British war effort. And when the job was done, they would be shot.
we didn't cooperate, we knew it was our end. So we were better treated than in Auschwitz for sure. But we are still in a concentration camp, and we knew as long as they need us, they might treat us almost normally.
Almost normally.
If they don't need us anymore.
Frightened? Listen, we were used to it. We got used to it. Whatever will be, will be. But I never lost hope. Never lost hope.
Since the first day I was in a camp in Germany, I heard prisoners say, I would like to live 1 hour longer than the Germans and see their defeat. I don't care if I die. And as time went on, it became also my leitmotif, my thinking. Let's survive them. Even for a short time. I'm sorry. You see, when I say it, I live it. So,
I'm going to stop this right here. I'm going to put the link in the description box. Please go watch it. And I just hope the American people wake up. If you're not totally cruel and hateful and spiteful, and you actually do respect human life at all, it is really it's time to oppose Trump and his regime. It is the time.